OK, well, let's get the views now of Ray Woolford, because he has a long-standing interest in food poverty and has even written the book, Food Bank Britain. Ray, you're very welcome. Thanks for coming on. What do you make, then, of this decision by the UK government to slash foreign aid by 60%?
Well, I'm really shamed by it, by being a Brit. This is not about economic argument, it's purely about short-term populism. You've got to realise that the UK government is saying to its population, we need to look after our own kids. That, to a certain extent, is correct. However, the reality is around the world, children do not have access to education. Many children are exploited or in dangerous situations. Many children do not have access to food or clean water. And that aid budget is crucially important. In the UK at the moment, our health service, our public sector, would not survive without people from around the world coming and playing a hugely important role in the UK economy. And unfortunately, poverty is not a cool issue. And we need to address it more by highlighting the impact of what a difference this money makes. And we're talking about a very, very small amount of the UK's GDP. Only today we have a trade deal with India in which India is going to be investing £533 million into the UK economy. We need to stop looking short-term inwardly and looking at popularism and look at global. The way the pandemic has opened our eyes to the injustice around the world, it's also showed us the humanity that goes on around the world. And I think this is totally the wrong step. It's backward, it's populist, and it makes no economic sense whatsoever.
I understand what you say there, Ray, but is there an argument, just if you look at figures and how much debt the UK is in now, surely if they say, look, surely we have to tighten our belts and look after the people within our own country first, is that really short-termism? I mean, to a lot of people, that would make sense.
Well, we're now actually outside the UK. So we're now outside the EU, so that makes a very, very big impact on the UK economy. Of course it does. But you've got to realise that these children come from families who, as they grow, are going to be consumers of British goods. These are people who are going to be the tourists of the future. These are going to be people who come to work in our public sector, people who come to work in our health sector, people that come to teach our children, people who we all benefit from. What we need to be doing is not looking short-term, but long-term. And we should be, the argument in my organisation is more not about creating a global world that is based on welfare dependency, but trying to actually work out ways creatively how this money can be spent to eradicate poverty, so we don't have the refugee crisis. We do not have wars, which in the main are caused in part by poverty, and that we actually sort of address and rebalance the global economy. So instead of having conflicts between one country and another, we look at what is good and what's best within our different structures and look at all of us as human beings and say, look, this is a long-term solution. We need to eradicate poverty, and for a few quid, the long-term gain by getting people out of poverty, by being able to sleep at night knowing that you've done your best to make sure children can have clean water, they can live in safety, and people have free access to healthcare, is something that we should all want as human beings, regardless of your politics, left or right.
Is that one of the main frustrations you have, Ray? Because I know during this whole pandemic you set up a food bank, correct me if I'm wrong, but pursued with that and helped a lot of people within your own community. And the pandemic has brought a lot of people together to say, look, how can we help each other? But that seems to be lacking in government at the moment. Is that a big frustration for you?
Well, I mean, the bizarre thing about this globally, it's not just about poverty, is that what the pandemic has highlighted, and I think it really started before the pandemic, whether you look at the Me Too movement, Extinction Rebellion, Black Lives Matter, End Poverty Now, Make Poverty History. All these movements have been established not by governments, not by local authorities, not by unions, not by big business, groups like myself are run and funded by local communities, by local people. In a bizarre way, the whole world is becoming more anarchist. People are talking about left and right, socialism, communist capitalism. The reality is that the pandemic has made people more humane. It's made them more understanding and more open to the world agenda, and to challenge what they're told by their governments in a way they've never done that before. And I think that's a positive thing that's come out of it. Yes, it's been a struggle. Yes, I feed, 5,000 families a month in the UK, and that's shamefully in the 5th richest economy in the world. But we have a poverty crisis in Britain, and nowhere in the world has a minister responsible for the eradication of poverty, which is quite bizarre, because with the pandemic at the moment, every local authority, every government around the world has somebody responsible for COVID. And yet more people would die today, tomorrow, and in the years ahead as a direct impact of poverty than ever will of COVID. So why do we not really use this opportunity to say, right, we need to eradicate the welfare bill completely, forget overseas development, and see it as a way of investing our way and investing in people to get better lives, better economies, and a better planet for everybody. That's what we should be looking at. Not looking at the past, but looking to the future.
And a long-term future as well. Ray, really nice to talk to you. We're going to have to leave it there. That was Ray Woolford, author and activist based in the UK. Thanks for coming on.
Pleasure. Thank you.